Attention, Philadelphia Eagles fans, don't miss this. What happened? You won't believe it. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because we bring you daily videos with the latest updates on the Philadelphia Eagles. And to not miss anything, turn on notifications. Without further delay, let's get to the news. Philadelphia Eagles. Never doubt the appeal of playing for a champion. The question is, Philadelphia doesn't need a cornerback. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are fantastic, and Kelee Ringo showed great potential. That said, Ringo played only 113 snaps last season in a rotational role, and it's quite possible he's not ready to be an every-down outside cornerback. Alexander would be a great insurance policy if Ringo isn't that guy on every down. And he could also create some rotation at the position to present different looks. It would be a very Eagles move to sign Alexander on a cheap, incentive-laden deal and bring him in during free agency. Report: Packers to release Jaire Alexander. Acme Packing Company Alexander's contract, which ran through 2026, was set to pay him $17.5 million in cash this season and carry a $24.6 million cap hit. By releasing him after June 1st, the Packers will free up over $17 million in cap space for this season, carrying about $7.5 million in dead money into 2025. The team will then absorb $9.5 million in dead money in 2026, which is the remainder of his signing bonus money that amortizes over 2026 and 2027. The main point of contention for the Packers throughout the offseason has been Alexander's availability, or lack thereof. Since signing his most recent contract extension in May 2022, he was a second-team All-Pro and set a career high with 5 interceptions that fall. However, since then, he's played in only 7 regular season games in each of the last 2 seasons and has caused some off-field headaches for the Packers. Hold for now, Eagles blitz. This is another case where the Eagles would love to see their own young player win the job. Ringo would give them a cost-effective solution for a few years. He could develop into a good CB. Coaches and the front office will be watching the CB closely. The team lost Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, and Avonte Maddox. They added Ringo, Jackson, and rookie Mac McWilliams. That's a lot of talent and experience walking out the door. That's life in the modern NFL. You have to gamble on young players and unknown veterans. You can't pay everyone. If there's trouble at corner, Howie will start working the phones, whether for Ramsey or another player. These OTA practices have limitations, but at least they give young players a chance to show something. Coaches can see what kind of shape they're in. Coaches can see if they're making mental mistakes. Coaches can just get a feel for their mindset. What kind of vibe is the player giving off? You want players to be confident, but not overly arrogant. Eagles Film Review. Antwan Powell-Ryland could have a role as a pass rush specialist. BGN overall, Antwan Powell-Ryland is a high-performing pass rusher who had one of the best production rates in college football over the past 2 years. He clearly lacks ideal measurables, but makes up for it with a variety of pass rush moves and exceptional effort. He isn't strong or long enough to hold up as an every-down edge, and his struggles in the run game will likely limit him to a rotational player throughout his career. However, he can add value as a third-down pass rusher. Rube's observations: making sure an underrated Eagles assistant coach gets his due. NBCSP discussions about the best defensive coordinators in Eagles history always include Marion Campbell, Bud Carson, Jim Johnson, and Vic Fangio. And rightly so. One name often left out is Jim Schwartz, and that's a mistake. Schwartz's work in 2017 was remarkable. The Super Bowl defense was actually better than last year's in many categories, including third down percentage, 32% in 2017 versus 36% in 2024, run defense, 3.8 versus 4.3, and takeaways, 31 in 16 games versus 26 in 17. Both allowed 17 points per game and 17 first downs per game, and both averaged 2.4 sacks per game. With one fewer game, the 2017 unit had more interceptions, 19-13. The 2017 group held QBs to a lower completion rate, 60.4% to 62.2%, and a lower passer rating, 79.5 is 82.5. And that 2017 defensive roster was nowhere near as talented as the 2024 group, which was full of high-end draft picks. There were some key starters like Fletcher Cox, Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod, and Brandon Graham. But there were also a lot of mid-level starters or backups like Patrick Robinson, Vinnie Curry, Tim Jernigan, Michael Kendricks, Jalen Mills, Ronald Darby, Corey Graham, Derek Barnett, Chris Long, and Bo Allen. Good players, and in some cases, very good, who were perfect for that team and played really well in that system for that team and that coach. Schwartz got the most out of what he had, and that's the mark of a great coach. Fangio is a wizard. Johnson was a genius. Old Swampy was a fantastic defensive coach under Dick Vermeil. Bud Carson was the perfect guy for that 1991 group. But Schwartz deserves to be mentioned with them. He was brilliant in 2017 Eagles rookie player comparisons in the NFL. QB Kyle McCord, Philly voice. The player McCord reminds me of is Sam Darnold. Like McCord, Darnold enrolled at a major college program and wasn't the starter his first 2 years. He eventually became the starter in his second season, which was technically his redshirt freshman year, and immediately made an impact, throwing 31 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Darnold's and McCord's college stats are very similar. McCord's are actually a little better. 2025 NFC East Futures. Preview, best bet, top questions, market edges. PFF Hertz has one of the largest EPA splits when facing disruption, or not, defined as the defense generating pressure to knock the quarterback off his progression, or the coverage unit creating a perfect cover. When the situation is good, with solid protection and open receivers, Hertz can deliver. As such, the team is more vulnerable to injury than a typical offense of its caliber, and the unit lacks depth behind the all-pro level players mentioned at those positions. But assuming Philadelphia's stars can stay healthy, this is one of the highest floor, lowest variance offenses in the NFL. Perhaps more questionable is how the Eagles' defense performs and projects for 2025. It was one of the best defenses in the NFL last season, and by far the best by virtually any metric after the team's bye week, when standout rookie cornerbacks Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell began playing full-time snaps.